49ers news and rumors mailbag coming your way on the 49ers report. But speaking of things coming your way, Sunday, big game between the Niners and the Texans. We'll be going live for another watch party on Thursday Night Football, and that loss to the Titans. We had 70,000 people join us. Let's beat that number. Subscribe. Join us for a lit watch party. We'll be going live 3:50 p.m. Eastern, 12:50 p.m. Pacific. Subscribe and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, make sure you give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Chase_Senior. If I don't answer your questions during this upcoming mailbag, you hit me up on Twitter, DM, at me. I'll answer your questions then. Huskio Dino coming in with this question. Do you think Trey Lance is a good pick? I do. I think he has an extraordinary amount of upside. I think throughout this last month, you have seen Mac Jones really struggle, especially in that Northeast climate, because he has an average arm, and you've seen him struggle because he's somewhat of an average quarterback with a clear ceiling. So I think Trey Lance has all-world upside. I think he can be an excellent quarterback, especially in Kyle Shanahan's scheme, and I trust that he's going to be able to develop over time and become a very good player in this offense. Thomas B., which opponent would you prefer to face in the playoffs? Which do you not want to see? I prefer to take on the Dallas Cowboys because I like the matchup there. The Niners' defensive line, very, very good. And at times, the Cowboys' offensive line hasn't been all that good, especially in the interior. Now, if the season were to end today, the Niners would go on the road to take on the Los Angeles Rams, which would, of course, be a rematch of that Week 18 game because the regular season rounds out with the Niners taking on the Rams at SoFi. But I like the matchup against Dallas. I like the matchup against the Rams. I don't hate the matchup against the Bucs, although it is Tom Brady. I'll tell you this, the Packers, one of the worst teams in the NFL against the run defensively. We know the Niners' forte, especially with Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo for that matter, very good running team. Could match up well against Green Bay as well. Ellis 10, concerns about the offensive line holding when Trey Lance is behind center. Not many concerns. If anything, you're better off with Trey Lance because he can escape pressure. He can climb up the pocket. I think in a short sample size, he displayed pretty good pocket awareness, pocket feel, and pocket movement. So if the offensive line does get beat, Trey Lance can bail you out in a way that Garoppolo cannot because he's a much better athlete than Garoppolo, much quicker feet, much more explosive as a runner. So not many concerns there, Ellis. But if Trey Lance just sits back there and pats the football like Garoppolo sometimes does, the pocket can cave, and that's where you kind of get screwed. Prediction time here during this mailbag. Who you got? You let me know right now. HOU for the Texans, SF for the 49ers. Get those predictions in as I see some of those super chats coming in. Love to see it, but get that comment section popping right now during this mailbag and let me know who you got on Sunday. Travis Jackson, is Deebo in the MVP conversation? I think that conversation and debate has waned over time, but it's a really fascinating year because nobody has really separated themselves in that MVP race, right? I think Aaron Rodgers is number one. Tom Brady fell off just a little bit. He's probably number two. But if we talk about guys like Cooper Kupp being involved in the MVP conversation on the NFC side, and then on the AFC side, guys like Jonathan Taylor, we got to throw Deebo Samuel in the mix as well. No other wide receiver has rushed for 6 touchdowns in a year. He's been incredible and insane, through the air and on the ground. He's been unbelievable. Offensive Player of the Year, MVP conversation. He deserves to be in all of those conversations. New Money Beats. Why was Lance always on the run versus the Cardinals in Week 2? Offensive line was terrible. Mike McGlinchey at that time was not good. Alex Mack wasn't great that day either. You had some problems at the right guard spot. There were a lot of quarterback runs called for Trey Lance, which I didn't like, especially around the goal line. A lot of factors that went into that, but really, the offensive line was just bad in that game. What's crazy is if you look back at that box score, San Francisco outgained the Cardinals, and they got past midfield a bunch, into the red zone a bunch. But they went for it. They were bad on 3rd and 4th downs and just couldn't punch the ball in. Hopefully, that scenario will be different against a bad Texans team. Speaking of Trey Lance, what is your level of confidence in him? That he can play well and give the Niners a dub. Scale it for me in the comment section right now from 1 to 100. Albert Soto, do you think Shanahan will give the same confidence to Trey just as he gave to Jimmy? I hope so. I don't think you should put any type of leash on Trey Lance. Let him go out there and ball. Let him not think too much. And you don't want him overthinking as a rookie. You want his level of confidence to remain sky high. So let him do what he does best. Run the football, pass the football, and just let him chuck dimes and chuck balls deep downfield, especially utilize that play action. Lean on the ground game to expand the pass game. Spectre, Jimmy versus Brady would have been a good story. It would have. It would have. Maybe it still happens. I mean, we still don't know, as we record this during our live show on Tuesday, what the injury status of Garoppolo is going to be. I'd be shocked if he plays against Houston. That's a pretty severe injury for Garoppolo, but we've seen players come back very quickly. Gregory Schneider, is Dre Greenlaw coming back this year? Hope that he could play, if not against the Texans, then against the Los Angeles Rams, which would be a big boost for this linebacking core because they're not going to have Azeez Al-Shire, at least against the Texans. Couple of quick super chats. Tommy Huxley, $2. Chase is still the goddamn GOAT. Thank you, my guy. Shout out to Harrison Graham for stepping in for me. I was hopping on a flight when that Garoppolo news broke on Monday, and he killed the game. I miss my Niner gang, though, and looks like Tommy missed me, too. Thank you, brother. $5 from Garcia Brothers. What's up, Chase? How much will it cost to see you chuck a beer from producer Marshall and his boot on our next live game? You want me to drink a beer out of Marshall's boot? Well, he's rocking some Nikes right now. That might cost you $200 to do a boot chug. That's kind of gross, man. But I like to say here around the office, as I've changed the culture, and here on the 49ers Report, I'm never scared. I'd be a little frightened to drink a beer out of a boot because that's pretty gross. But if you want to put forward 200 bones, maybe I'd do it out of my own shoe. If you want to bet on the fact that I might do that or I might be crazy, there are odds right now on BetUS. No, I'm kidding. But you can bet on NFL, NBA, some of these college bowl games, thanks to our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Get your bets in right now, and in the process, get a 125% deposit bonus by going to chatsports.com/49bet. Enter the promo code Niners125. Let's say you put in $100, you get an additional $125 back. Lil Maniac, what it do? Super Bowl percentage. Look, I continue to say this. The Niners can compete with some of the top teams in the NFC. They've done it all year. They went toe-for-toe with the Green Bay Packers. They've played alongside some really good teams and have beat some teams in the playoff race. Los Angeles Rams. They've hung in there on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They beat the Vikings and the Falcons. Like, they do have some quality wins. If the weather was better, did they beat one of the hotter teams in the NFL in the Indianapolis Colts? Yes. They just can't shoot themselves in the foot, especially in the playoffs. And when you do that, that's a recipe for disaster, and that's a recipe for either not getting in, which is still a possibility, or not going on a deep run. Gio Kane, if Trey Lance wins 2 games in a row, who starts in the playoffs? Do you go with the hot hand, kind of like what Harbaugh did with Colin Kaepernick over Alex Smith? Maybe. Bill Belichick went with the hot hand and Tom Brady. Now, the difference there in both of those scenarios, Colin Kaepernick started a lot of regular season games, more than 2. So too did Tom Brady when he came in relief for Drew Bledsoe. So there's a difference there, but I think at times, sometimes you just go with the hot hand. Speaking of Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo. Has Garoppolo played his last game as a San Francisco 49er? Man, wouldn't that be crazy? A lot of ups and downs. He's won around 70% of his games. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Eternity T. Do you think Trey has what it takes to get the job done these last 2 games of the year? I think he has a bunch of ability. I think it comes down to a variety of things. Is Kyle Shanahan going to show trust in him as a passer? How's the ground game going to change? Is it going to become more explosive? Do you utilize play action? Can Trey Lance kind of shoulder the load offensively if he is asked to throw the ball, depending on the flow and the movement of the game, 20, 30-plus times, potentially? The ability is there. That's why this guy was drafted at number 3. That's why the Niners exhausted future draft capital to move up to take him. The guy has a ridiculous arm. He's a great athlete. He can run it as well. And in the modern-day NFL, that's a great recipe for success. Saucy Noodle, do you think next season Trey will start? I do. I think next year Trey Lance is going to start. I mean, look, I know that players and coaches can say these types of things to boost the confidence of a player, but when Fred Warner is saying, man, he's been slicing us up in practice, when Kyle Shanahan says the last 4 weeks have been his best since he came here, we've seen the ability in relief duty against the Seahawks earlier on this year and in moments against the Arizona Cardinals where you're like, man, this guy has tantalizing ability. I think you want to see what he can do, and let's just hope that he's ready. If he's not ready, then he won't start. If he is, he will. Ned Goodwin, Gamer God, excuse me. What if the 49ers? Finish off that question, and we'll get to it. No worries there. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Gamer God 100. What if Trey Lance gets injured? Then they're screwed. They have to go with Nate Sudfeld. He would be the backup if Garoppolo cannot be the backup. And sometimes that can happen. Like if Garoppolo is healthy but not healthy enough to play, he can be the backup. But I think all signs would point to Nate Sudfeld coming in relief and backup duty. And if Trey Lance got injured, it would be a disaster. It's worse than C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins. Another reminder, going to be going live 3:50 p.m. Eastern, 12:50 p.m. Pacific for a 49ers Texans watch party right here on the 49ers Report. Live play-by-play. I'll be taking your questions as well, interacting with the Niner gang. Subscribe and join us. Thursday Night Football, we had 70,000 people join us. Maybe we can overtake that number this upcoming weekend.